but off I went, and I'm so glad I did.
What's been a major accomplishment in your professional boxing career that has been a big standout for you?
I think obviously in terms of, in the ring, the European silver medal, and certainly winning the Commonwealth title as a pro. So, I was I mean, a lot of this is, obviously there's a massive amount of hard work. You have to have a reasonable amount of talent and so on, but a lot of it is luck and timing. Being the first British woman to win the Commonwealth title is about timing. Being at the top of your game and not having injuries and not having something stopping you going to those things like the Europeans is a lot of luck. Just like you can have bad luck and you don't even end up going, like also happened to me. So there's an element of that. So I'm really grateful that I got to accomplish those two things as an amateur and a pro. But I think, to be honest, what blows all out of the water every time for me is my greatest accomplishment is, one, on a personal level, the person that I've become, because I didn't feel proud of who I was and what I did years ago. I took on board those comments of, it's not the real England football team, it's the England women's football team. Women shouldn't be boxing, it's unfeminine, it's this, it's that. And I got called shame and she-male and why do you want to be a boy? And I really internalised all of that and felt like there's something wrong with me. And now I've grown into a woman who's really proud of who I am and what I've done. And it's actually, speaking out as an advocate for change and to change perceptions. So that's, on a personal level, a massive accomplishment, and to feel worthy of this platform and use it. But in terms of the biggest accomplishment, full stop, is inspiring others. Whenever I get messages from, young boxers or young athletes or their parents or anybody else, if I've done a talk or they might have watched a fight or anything like that, that's always my greatest accomplishment, being able to use sport and my love of sport and making a difference to impact other people positively. That's my greatest accomplishment, no doubt about it.
How has, after you won the Commonwealth title and throughout your career, how has public perception from like social media and support been for you?
I think social media, as you alluded to before, is one of the massive factors in women's sport, because we've had this kind of, boring default leadership in place with those in, decision-making, influential positions of power who've just resorted to the same old thing, that it's the chicken or the egg. And when we're like, why is it not on TV more? Why is it not in the newspapers? Well, there's not as much money in it. We did it. And it's just like this, right, well, if you don't put it on TV, no one's heard of it, so they can't get the sponsorship, it won't improve it. It's just a vicious cycle all the time. Social media has really kicked the ass out of that, because you don't have to have a journalist that's been brought up with that perception to rely on them. You don't have to have a media person who's been brought up in that society. You don't need any of that. You just need somebody who says, I'm going to set up a women's sports channel, or I'm going to start doing a blog, or I'm going to share loads of footage, whatever it might be. They can put it out there, and they are doing, like you say, in their droves. Women are massive consumers of social media. We're the ones who spend the most money, certainly in the Western world anyway, in terms of online shopping and purchasing and, all of that. And using social media, we consume it at much larger rates than men do. So if it's not for us, then who's it for? And that's kind of, and it's also changing the thing that men's sport, we know, has always been for men to play. But what goes along with that is it's always for men to watch. And what's starting to change is that, yes, we're encouraging women to watch, but also to play and participate. But also women like watching sport too. That's the bit that gets forgotten. Women like working in sport. They like being journalists and sports reporters. And there's a whole world that's now opening up, and social media has been a massive part of it. So I have seen perceptions change massively. And just watching the World Cup the other year, last year, there were some massive companies and corporations falling over themselves to get involved with sponsoring those teams and those individual players. And if you compare that with when I went to play for England and had to take unpaid leave from work, and my boss made jokes about it and, didn't want to give me the time off. And he said, oh, you want me to give you a week off to play for a women's football team? And it was all, I was like, well, it is the national team. To now, where not only are they getting paid, but there's people really wanting to sponsor them. Even that one little micro example shows you. And then, of course, when I took my niece Ruby, she's 10 now, I took her to watch Man City. and Man United women play last year, and there was 31,000 people in the stadium, and it was an incredible atmosphere. When I played, that would never have been, nobody would have ever imagined that was possible, and look, it's happening. So even those things are huge, but then we still have these really awful attitudes, which is why we still need to do what we're doing, and you can't stop because you're never there, so you've really got to keep going with it.